The House is resumed for the extended sitting. I call on Government Orders of the Day, numbers 6 and 7.
Smoke-free environments, Tobacco Standardised Packaging Amendment Bill, Committee Stage. Judicature Modernisation Bill, Committee Stage.
I declare the House in committee for consideration of the Smoke-free Environments, Tobacco Standardised Packaging Amendment Bill and the Judicature Modernisation Bill. Mr. Chairman. Mr. Speaker.
Members, the House is in committee on the Smoke-free Environments, Tobacco Standardised Packaging and Amendment Bill and the Judicature Modernisation Bill. We turn first to the Smoke-free Environments, Tobacco Standardised Packaging Amendment Bill. I call Jami-Lee Ross.
Mr. Chair, I seek leave for the Smoke-free Environments, Tobacco Standardised Packaging Amendment Bill to be debated as one question, voted on separately.
Leave is put for that purpose. Is there any objection? There appears to be none. The question is that parts 1 and 2, the schedule and clauses 1 and 2 stand part.
Mr. Chairman.
The Honourable Annette King.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning.
And I can see there is a lot of interest in the passage of this bill. And can I say that this is a red letter day, that we are now at the committee stage of this very important bill. A bill that will bring in plain packaging on tobacco products. It is something that Labor called for in 2011. The government in 2013 decided that there would be a new regulatory scheme to standardise tobacco products and packaging, and here we are in 2016 about to go through the committee stages of this bill. The reason why we are keen to see it passed, Mr. Chair, is because tobacco is a unique product. It's unique that it kills a large percentage of those who consume it. About 5,000 people die each year from smoking and from second-hand smoke exposure. That's 13 people a day dying from a product that has, as I said, unique qualities to it. And which is why we wanted to see yet another tool to tighten the screws on tobacco consumption and tobacco prevalence in New Zealand. And, Mr. Chair, there has been a lot of work done over many years to tighten those screws and to reduce the percentage of New Zealanders smoking. And I can recall the very first legislation, which was the legislation of the Right Honourable Helen Clark when she was Minister of Health. It was controversial at the time because she brought in legislation to ban smoking in the workplace. And there were many workers who'd gone to work and puffed up large, were very angry at the thought that they could no longer do that. And when we think back to the late 1980s, when that bill came in, at our attitudes today, you can see how much has changed. And over the years, there have been other measures that have been put in place. Smoking out of bars and restaurants, increasing excise tax, and I'd like to commend the work that was done by the Honourable Tariana Turia, who did a lot of work when she was with Labor and then when she was part of this government around tobacco consumption. And she was very keen on the annual increase on the excise duty, which we support. And so we have seen a reduction. But as one of the signatories to the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control and one of the first to ratify that UN convention, we were very pleased to put in place the measures that they recommend in that framework. And one of them is plain packaging. And so now we are putting in place yet one more measure. The plain packaging legislation, and in this part of the bill, Mr. Chairman, is where we're talking, is the main part of the bill. It's also important around the name of this bill. And at the Select Committee, we decided that the name was not appropriate. And I recall Sir Geoffrey Palmer saying that when you name a bill, and I think this is when he was chair of the Law Commission, when you name a bill, it ought to reflect what the bill is about. So having names that confuse the public are not appropriate. Well, the original name of this bill, as people will know, is that it is plain packaging. Of course, there is nothing plain about the packaging that is going to be put on the standard cigarette packets in New Zealand. They are far from plain. They are graphic. They, in fact, show some horrific examples of what can happen if you smoke. And we have seen some of the examples of what these would be. And the Minister, when he replies, may like to share with us some of what the New Zealand examples would be. I know that there has been a call for us to have some unique graphic pictures on our packaging that are New Zealand flavour. We know what the Australians did in other countries, but there has been a call for us to have some unique graphics of our own that relate to New Zealand. And so the Minister might like to address that, because we haven't seen what those... They haven't been... Well, the Minister said they haven't been finalised, and I'm sure as a responsible minister, he would like to share them with the House when they are finalised. And maybe he would even like an input from the very good Health Select Committee, who would be very happy, Minister, to look at them when you've finalised them to see if we think that they do have a particular... Mr Chairman?
The Honourable Annette King.
They do have a particular New Zealand flavour. So in fact, we have recommended a change to the bill, and I know that the Minister is going to accept it, that we change it from Smoke-Free Environments Tobacco Plain Packaging Amendment Bill, and that we change it to the Tobacco Standardised Packaging Bill. So that is what we've suggested from the Select Committee. It is tobacco standardised packaging. Right. It is not plain packaging for the very reason that I have set out. I just wanted to say that in the Select Committee, when we were putting up some amendments, and we put up 3 main amendments to the bill, Minister, and I think you probably accepted them all: the tobacco standardised packaging, offence of sale of certain tobacco products in small quantities, and the offence for the sale of certain tobacco products in small quantities. So restrictions and offence. And those were amendments we put up, and I'm pretty sure they're going to be supported. But I wanted to say at the Select Committee, we worked in a very collegial way over those amendments. And we also were not moved, Minister, by the tobacco industry's protests about plain packaging. I do know that there are a couple of members opposite who were former tobacco lobbyists, who were very keen on tobacco. I don't know whether they've changed their mind, but of course, Chris Bishop, former Phillips Morrison spokesperson, said there are no studies. There are not any studies to suggest. No, this is important, Sam. He said this, and it's on the record, so we should share it, that there are not any studies that suggest plain packaging will work at stopping people from taking up smoking or helping them to quit. There is not one study to suggest that, he said. Now, the Minister doesn't agree with it, otherwise he wouldn't be backing this bill. And I believe that the national government doesn't believe it. I certainly know a doctor like Dr. Shane Retty wouldn't agree with that. And so I think maybe young Chris Bishop has learnt a thing or two when he's gotten here, because we do have research that is cited in the New Zealand Medical Journal that states that New Zealand studies show, quote, plain packs that feature large graphic health warnings are significantly more likely to promote cessation amongst young adult smokers than fully branded or partially branded packs. So I think that there is evidence that it will work. It's not the panacea. Let's get that straight. It is just one more measure. Right. So it is not going to suddenly stop everybody smoking. But Minister, you know, and this House knows, that it is yet another tool to use to help discourage people from smoking. And so we do support this bill, and we do support its speedy passage. And so getting this committee stage finished and the third reading and assent for this bill is very important to those of us who care about the health of New Zealanders. And Minister, I'm pleased that you actually are here with this bill. I do have questions that I asked you over many months about what was happening, and you were particularly cagey for a long time, but suddenly the bill was here, we're passing it. I can't say whether it was you that was holding it up, but I do believe that we did lack the courage in New Zealand to follow the Australians who put this in place several years ago, and they said to the tobacco companies, go to hell. We are sovereign, we make our own public health policy, we're not going to be told by any tobacco company what we ought to do. They put the legislation in place and they took the hit of being taken to court. And we sat back and said, oh, we better wait and see what Australia does. Might be a problem. I wish that we had, as a country that has been a leader in tobacco control, I wish we had been that country that had had the courage to do it, that we had stood up and said we firmly believe in reducing the consumption of tobacco in New Zealand for the health of New Zealanders to prevent some of those 5,000 deaths a year, but we didn't. We were very slow followers. Now, Minister, I'm not saying that's your fault. You're a person I'm sure believes that we need to take this measure, otherwise you wouldn't be taking this through the House. But perhaps you might like to reflect on why it took us so long and we didn't have the courage to take this bill. Oh, well, certainly I had the courage and others had courage, but we did not have the courage of the government to do this.
The Honourable Pesata Sam Rotu Winga.